the land of Karnataka, cradled by mighty rivers and ancient hills, bore witness to the rise of a dynasty that would etch its name into history, the Western Gangas. Emerging in the 4th century CE, their origins remain shrouded in legend, whispered through inscriptions and ancient texts. It is said that the Gangas descended from Ikshvaku lineage, warriors driven southward, settling in the lush valleys of southern Karnataka. Their first ruler, Kongani Varma Madhva, carved a realm amidst warring chieftains, establishing his capital at Kolar before shifting to Talkad, where the Kaveri whispered secrets of power. The Gangas stood as a beacon of resilience, navigating shifting alliances with the Pallavas, Kadambas, and later, the mighty Rashtrakutas. Land grants, inscribed on copper plates, tell tales of a people deeply rooted in dharma, patrons of Jainism and guardians of Kannada identity. With each passing generation, they wove an empire, not through brute conquest, but through strategy, diplomacy, and cultural patronage. Their rise was not sudden, but steady, an ascent that would define the destiny of South India for centuries to come. The stage was set. The Gangas had arrived. But the trials had only begun. As the Ganga realm expanded, it demanded rulers of strength and strategy. Enter Durvinita, the warrior king who would forge the dynasty's might in fire and blood. Unlike his predecessors, his path to the throne was fraught with conflict, a succession war that tested his resolve. But Durvinita was no mere claimant, he was a king destined to rule. Under his command, the Gangas broke free from Pallava influence, asserting their independence. A scholar and a warrior, he mastered both the sword and the scriptures, translating Sanskrit texts while leading armies into battle. His victories were not just territorial, they were symbolic, marking the Gangas as a power in their own right. Then came Sri Purusha, the lion among kings. If Durvinita had carved the path, Sri Purusha would cement it. His defiance against the Chalukyas and his triumph over the Pandya ruler in the Battle of Periya Palayam earned him the title Rana Vikram. But war was never just about swords, it was about endurance. Sri Purusha's rule saw economic reforms, land grants, and religious patronage solidifying the Ganga legacy. 2 kings, 2 warriors. Their reigns shaped the dynasty's future, setting the stage for greater conflicts and even greater glories. Power is never permanent. Alliances shift, kingdoms rise, and empires clash. For the Gangas, the greatest test of their resilience came in the form of the Rashtrakutas, formidable overlords who sought to bend them to their will. The balance of power had long been delicate, with the Gangas maneuvering between the Pallavas and Chalukyas. But when the Rashtrakutas ascended in the mid-8th century, a new struggle began. Sri Purusha, the lion-hearted Ganga king, clashed with Dhruva Dharvarsha of the Rashtrakutas, fighting to retain his autonomy. Victories were claimed, but submission was inevitable. As the Rashtrakutas expanded, the Gangas became vassals, their sovereignty constrained yet never extinguished. They played a dangerous game, sometimes resisting, sometimes allying, always ensuring survival. Kings like Rachmalla and Nitimarga fought against Rashtrakuta dominance, yet also served in their wars, biding their time. For generations, the Gangas endured, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their power. And when the Rashtrakutas fell, their patience was rewarded. But peace was fleeting. A new force was on the horizon, one that would challenge their very existence. The Cholas were coming. The fall of the Rashtrakutas should have meant freedom. Instead, it brought chaos. As the mighty empire crumbled, new challengers rose, the Cholas, fierce and unrelenting, and the Nolambas, cunning and ambitious. The Gangas, though battle-hardened, now stood at a crossroads of war and survival. The Nolambas, once allies, turned rivals, forcing the Gangas into a bitter struggle for dominance in the southern Deccan. Border skirmishes erupted, alliances were forged and broken, and the land became a chessboard of shifting power. Yet, it was the Cholas who posed the greatest threat. Rajaditya Chola marched into Ganga territory, seeking submission, but the Gangas, under Rachmalla and later Chattadeva, resisted with every ounce of their might. Victories were won, but at great cost. The Chola war machine was relentless, and soon, the Gangas found themselves as vassals once more. Yet, even in subjugation, they endured. Their influence seeped into Chola administration, their culture merged into Tamil lands, and their spirit remained unbroken. The war for autonomy was not over, it had merely changed form. The Gangas had learned the greatest lesson of all: survival was its own kind of victory. A kingdom's strength is not just measured by its warriors, but by its governance, the silent force that shapes its destiny. The Gangas, though forged in battle, ruled with wisdom, weaving an administration that endured through centuries of turmoil. At the heart of their governance lay the land. More than just soil, it was the foundation of power. The Gangas perfected the art of land grants, gifting vast tracts to Brahmins and Jain monks, inscribed on copper plates that still whisper their legacy. These grants were not mere generosity, they were a strategy, securing loyalty, spreading culture, and strengthening the economy. The kingdom thrived on agrarian wealth, with taxes meticulously collected, irrigation systems sustaining prosperity, and trade routes linking them to distant lands. But administration was more than economy, it was control. The Gangas ruled through a network of local chieftains, balancing autonomy with authority, ensuring stability even in times of war. Through governance, they left a mark deeper than swords ever could. Their policies shaped the land, their grants immortalized their name, and their rule, though often overshadowed by war, was the true reason they endured. But power, no matter how well managed, is never eternal. The tides of fate were shifting once again. Amidst the echoes of war and the clash of swords, the Gangas carved a different legacy, one not of conquest, but of devotion. They were more than warriors, they were patrons of faith, and their unwavering support for Jainism became their most enduring mark on history. Shravana Belgola, nestled between two rocky hills, became the heart of their spiritual patronage. A sanctuary for Jain monks, a refuge for seekers of truth, it flourished under the Ganga kings. Rulers like Rachmalla and Nitimarga offered land and wealth, ensuring that Jain philosophy thrived in a land dominated by Hindu traditions. But the true testament to their faith stands in silent majesty, the Bahubali statue, a monolithic wonder. Commissioned by Chavandarya, the Ganga minister and commander, this colossal figure of the enlightened prince embodies renunciation, strength, and the pursuit of moksha. Carved from a single granite block, it has withstood time, its gaze unbroken, its presence eternal. Through temples, inscriptions, and grand monuments, the Gangas not only protected Jainism but intertwined it with Karnataka's identity. Yet, as dynasties fell and new powers rose, their spiritual legacy remained unshaken, a silent reminder of kings who sought divinity beyond the battlefield. A dynasty's legacy is not only written in battles but carved in stone. While the Gangas ruled with strength, they also built with vision, leaving behind temples and monuments that spoke of their devotion, artistry, and ambition. Ganga architecture was a fusion, Dravidian in form, yet distinct in style. Their temples, built from intricately sculpted granite, stood as testaments to both faith and craftsmanship. The Panchkuta Basdi in Kambadahalli, with its 5 sanctums, reflects their deep patronage of Jainism, while the Kapileshwara temple in Maine stands as proof of their reverence for Shaivism. But beyond temples, their true artistic brilliance lay in the details: pillars adorned with floral motifs, inscriptions etched with precision, and sculptures that seemed almost alive. Every structure was a statement, a declaration that the Gangas were not just rulers of land, but of culture itself. Though later dynasties would build grander monuments, the Ganga influence endured. Their style seeped into the Hoysalas, the Vijayanagara Empire, and beyond, shaping the architectural soul of Karnataka. And though time may have weathered their stones, the spirit of their craftsmanship remains, etched in eternity. A kingdom's strength is measured not just by its swords, but by its words. While the Gangas waged wars on the battlefield, they also nurtured a different kind of power. The power of language, literature, and scholarship. Under their rule, Sanskrit flourished, the language of administration and royal decrees, carrying the weight of dharma and governance. Yet, it was Kannada that truly found its voice. The Gangas laid the foundation for Kannada literature, fostering poets and scholars who shaped the region's cultural identity. It was during their reign that early Kannada inscriptions, like the Begur inscription, emerged, marking the first recorded use of the language. But knowledge needed guardians. The Gangas entrusted this role to two great intellectual pillars, Brahmins and Jain monks. The Brahmins, custodians of Vedic wisdom, shaped rituals, politics, and philosophy. Meanwhile, Jain monks, supported by generous royal patronage, composed texts, spread teachings, and chronicled history. Together, they ensured that the Ganga legacy was not just remembered in stone but written in verse, inscribed on copper plates, and passed down through generations. Kingdoms rise and fall, but words endure. And through language, the Gangas became immortal. No dynasty rules forever. The Gangas had endured wars, vassalage, and shifting alliances, but the final blow would come not from one enemy, but two, the Cholas and the Hoysalas. The Cholas, relentless and expansionist, tightened their grip over the Ganga Vadi region. Despite fierce resistance, the Gangas found themselves outmatched by the military brilliance of Raja Chola and his successors. One by one, their strongholds fell, and by the early 11th century, Ganga sovereignty had crumbled under Chola dominance. Yet, even as they faded, another power was rising. The Hoysalas, once Ganga feudatories, saw an opportunity in the chaos. Over time, they grew stronger, absorbing what remained of Ganga influence. By the 12th century, the last traces of Ganga rule had dissolved, their lands now under Hoysala banners. But the Gangas did not vanish. Their traditions, their governance, their patronage of language and art lived on through the dynasties that followed. The kings were gone, but their legacy was far from erased. The stones they carved, the temples they built, and the culture they nurtured would continue to shape Karnataka for centuries to come. Kingdoms fall. Names fade. But legacies? They endure. The Gangas, though long gone, left behind more than just ruins, they left a blueprint for the future. Their influence did not end with their last king, it flowed like an underground river, shaping the empires that followed. The Vijayanagara Empire, the last great Hindu stronghold of the Deccan, carried the echoes of the Gangas in its very foundations. Their land grants, their administrative policies, even their reverence for Kannada and Sanskrit, Vijayanagara inherited it all. The grand temples of Hampi, the towering Gopurams, and the artistic brilliance of later dynasties bore traces of the Ganga vision. But it wasn't just Vijayanagara. The Hoysalas, the Vodayars, and the very identity of Karnataka were shaped by what the Gangas had begun. Their patronage of Jainism ensured Shravana Belgola remained sacred, their governance laid the groundwork for future rulers, and their cultural contributions became the soul of a land they once ruled. The Gangas may no longer sit on thrones, but they live in every inscription, every temple, and every story whispered by time itself. Kings die. Dynasties crumble. But legends? They never fade.
History is a blend of fact, interpretation, and imagination. The stories are inspired by historical accounts, myths, and cultural legacies. While we aim to bring history alive, we encourage you to explore, research, and question these narratives.